Okay, and we are rolling, and we are back with our coverage of the FPA National here in Columbus, Ohio. And as I've been saying all day, what I love about coming to these conferences to do these on-location videos is the access to the talent. And the talent, of course, here is David Blanchett from PGIM. Thanks for joining us, David.
Sure thing.
All right, so we were talking a little bit off camera, and I wanted to kind of continue that. So we did, I think it was a podcast maybe about 4 or 5 months ago on essentially like not an option overlay, but an annuity overlay concept. Tell us about that, please.
Sure. So, adoption of lifetime income strategies, annuities among RIAs in particular is pretty low.
Yeah.
And I think one way to improve that is to allow them to kind of keep investing the money and then have a strategy and annuity that sits on top of their portfolio. So they can leave the money, they can custody it wherever they are currently, and this would allow them to then provide additional protection. So for, I'll make this up, 1% a year of the account value, if the retiree follows certain provisions and they're still alive when the portfolio is depleted, the insurance kicks in and pays them for life. It's called a Contingent Deferred Annuity, or CDA. A better terminology could be like an insurance overlay or a longevity overlay.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting, and that's what I love about the RIA space. There's so much innovation to choose from. And really what you're describing, it sounds to me like, the good old-fashioned guaranteed income benefits that we used to see as part of a packaged annuity product.
Right.
But if I'm understanding this correctly, I can have my portfolio at Schwab or Ray J or Fidelity, fill-in-the-blank custodian, and a company could come in, an insurance company, and put essentially an income guarantee overlay on top of that. Is that correct?
That's correct. And the key here is it can kind of be, there's lots of different flavors of lifetime income strategies. There's GLWBs, there's things I call PLIBs. All of that can work, right? The key is can the insurer replicate the portfolio to some extent? So things like crypto don't usually work as well in these portfolios. But the idea is again, to not require the advisor to transfer the money to the insurance. I think that's a huge roadblock for advisors for a host of reasons. But if they can leave the money on their books, manage it their way, it also provides this protection that provides a different way, I think, for their clients to get better retirement outcomes.
Right. And we were also talking about this off camera too. There's a company out there called Spider Rock that does option overlays, which sounds awfully similar. So it's not like you have to ship it off somewhere else and they're running it. You get to keep your ticker symbols, right? Your holdings right where they are, right? Safe and sound, as most advisors like, as I like. But they're doing an option overlay, and this is an insurance overlay. Why are we not seeing adoption of this? Because I never hear about it other than when you and I chat about it.
Sure. So, I think that there have been products in market now for over a decade, like traction rounds down to zero. There's lots of operational issues here, right? So, the insurance company has to be aware of what the portfolio is so they can replicate it. There needs to be information on withdrawals. There needs to be fees that come out. And so I think that we're seeing, companies like Prudential, they're actively building solutions that would allow advisors to do this, but there's lots of roadblocks along the way. And there's also education. The idea of a CDA, your insurance overlay, longevity overlay, like this is a concept that most advisors have heard of. So I think I feel confident we're going to see more of these in the future. I think the question just is how long it takes for it to catch up.
Yeah. You know what this really reminds me of? And this was at an FPA conference maybe 8 or 9 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I was in the audience, and there was a guy up there talking, David Lau.
Okay.
Probably heard of him.
I do. He
Rings
lives in Louisville, Kentucky.
I know he does.
Yeah.
From DPL, obviously.
Right,
he's like the 800-pound gorilla for fee-based annuities and insurance.
Sure.
And he was talking about, we're going to allow advisors to do annuities without a Series 7 on a fee basis. And I've been a fee-based advisor for 25 years. It's like, finally, someone gets this.
Yep.
But it was still that same thing. It was clunky. It didn't really work very well 8 years ago. Now, you talk about fee-based annuities, you're like, well, that's table stakes, of course. Do you think we're going to see that with this income overlay? Will it get to that point as pervasive as we're seeing the fee-based annuities?
So I'd like to think so, because I think it really does provide this kind of perfect marriage of, so many advisors really want to build their own portfolios in their environment. That's their value prop. That's what they want to do. Yeah. They also acknowledge that their clients need some kind of longevity protection, not for all their portfolio, but for part of it. And so what this allows them, it allows them to continue managing the assets the way that they want to manage them, but also provide the protection for the folks who want it. So you're talking about DPL, it took them, it's taken them a long time to gain any traction whatsoever. I think if we continue this world where advisors really do believe that, I need to manage the money myself, I can't give it to an insurance company, these CDAs provide a really good bridge to allow them to offer solutions that can protect for longevity.
Sounds good. That's probably a good place to wrap it up for today. Just give everyone a little taste, but look out for those in the future, CDAs, and I promise you, once they really come to the forefront, we'll love to get you back and really do a deep dive.
That sounds great.
All right, David, thanks for joining us.
Sure.
All right, and we'll be back with a little bit more content today on the 18th September, and then I'll be back here tomorrow all day on September 19th with 4 or 5 more sessions to cover. Thanks for joining us. Thanks again, David.
Sure.